Welcome back to Trentsworth Terrors, Ghost of Castle Tower. Well, last chapter was really exciting. They got to go to Peak View, and they also found that there are people, not ghosts, at the top of Trent's castle. We'll continue on with the next chapter, Dead Men's Valley. Do you realise we are now halfway through the book? Yeah, see? We are actually halfway through the book. So, we are now making our way down to the exciting conclusion. See what happens. Dead Men's Valley. Here we go. You saw the men in the tower from high up? Susan asked as Stanley busied himself at the computer screen in the small cave. You've been keeping something from me. Yes, we saw them via binoculars up at Peak View. Mark relinquished, tensing for the expected response. Peak View! Oh, aren't we the posh ones now? Tiffany said, not disappointing Mark's expectations. Buffet, of course, Ben responded, and the view was just as good as upstairs. Right, so did you recognise them? Susan added, quickly changing the subject back. No, could have been anyone with the strength of those binoculars. What were they doing? Waving their torch around, Mark answered, on top of the tower. And then? Susan kept asking, hoping Tiffany had finally forgotten Ben's comeback. And then the money ran out, Ben explained. Didn't see what happened next. The door is the only way into that tower, Susan confirmed as they watched Stanley stare at the computer monitor. Locked up tight since 1929, Albert added. No living soul has been through that doorway since then. Yes, Albert, we all know that, Stanley commented, turning away from the computer screen to look at the others. This is more complex than I first thought. I think I might actually need you lot to set off a few alarms on purpose. Then I can see what extra traffic is generated. You mean you're okay for us to saunter into the tunnel system without any checks and balances? Ben asked, smiling. Yes, I'm afraid so. But we need to keep in contact, though. I have 3 radios we can use. They are short range, but at a frequency that can transmit through rock, so useful in cave systems. Ben and Tiffany know how to use them. Stanley handed the handsets to them, and they put them on their pockets. Radio me, Stanley continued, whenever you go through a doorway-like structure, before and after you open any doors, etc. I can then record differences in the network traffic, hopefully then decode the results successfully. Right then, Ben announced as he led the others into the fissure. He stopped at the end of the fissure and checked the room beyond. All was clear. As they passed a table with some cups left on it, Susan put her finger in the round liquid. Quite hot. Haven't been long gone. Excellent, Mark replied. Opening canteen door, Ben announced into the radio, and then opened the door. Door opened, going through. No difference, came the squawk from the radio. Keep going. Left or right? Ben inquired. Left, Mark responded, and Ben led the way. Susan closed the door behind them, announcing the fact over the radio. They followed the 3 pipes down the tunnel. Almost immediately, they passed an offshoot to the left. A wooden dinghy, the one they saw being rowed down the river when Storm was tracking them through the caves, was lying in the middle of this offshoot, which was only about 10 metres long. They could hear voices further down the main tunnel complaining about something. They could not make out any of the words, though. It was unanimously decided that silent gestures that they should investigate the offshoot first. Passing the dinghy, they quickly made it to the end of where there was a large metal frame structure. It looked more like the underside of a bridge than a door. Large hydraulic pistons connected the metal framework to the ceiling. The door obviously lifted up towards them, and it was probably controlled remotely using some of the network cables they had been following. Needs that entire framework to support the rock wall on the other side, Tiffany surmised. Probably, Ben agreed. I can't see us being able to pick the lock. Being there isn't one, Mark agreed, closely examining the door. This is one serious door. Whatever they're up to, it must be going to bring in a lot of money. Well, not much to do here, Susan sighed. Back to the tunnel. They walked back to the main tunnel in time to hear the voices being muffled and then cut off by the sound of a door slamming shut. Guess the way forward is clear now, Ben announced, and started to wander back down the tunnel. And it was down because after the offshoot, the tunnel floor had a very steep decline. I presume we're heading towards the edge of the western cliffs, Albert deduced. The tunnels would need to get beneath the valley's floor. Heading due south, Tiffany counted, checking her compass. That's not away from the west. Just as the words left her mouth, the tunnel veered slightly to the left. Oh, now heading 150 degrees. The tunnels seemed to go on forever. Mark noted that the walls were just solid rock. Twice more, it veered to the left. We are now headed east, Tiffany announced. At the last corner, the floor levelled back out. Not far after that was a 4-way intersection. After a couple of metres, the tunnel to the left ended in a wooden door was quite plain, but very wide. This fact, and the presence of multiple gouges in the tunnel floor, made the Terrors guess that it was a storeroom. The tunnel to the right continued into darkness. The pipes and cables continued ahead of them towards the east. They were about to continue east when they heard the door on the left click. "The men are coming back out," Mark announced. "Quick, into the off-street opposite. The darkness should hide us." They ran into the off-street until they were well hidden in the darkness. Just as they were quietly catching their breath, out of view, the men's voices became audio. "Did you hear something, Regional?" "No, Jim," the other voice responded. "It's your imagination playing up. We have no time for wild goose chases. We need to get the machine and start drilling again. We are behind schedule as it is." The voices faded, heading east, but then became audible again, coming from one of the off-street beside them. Eventually the voices could not be heard any more. "At least 2 men came out of the door, probably a storeroom. We just avoided them. They've gone further down into the tunnel system," Ben said into the radio. "We will now head back into the canteen and continue in the other direction." Mark turned on his flashlight as Ben completed his summary, and sure enough there was another tunnel ahead of them, heading east. Shining the torch further down showed up at least 2 other easterly tunnels. "How odd," Albert commented. "Seems to be a tunnel every 2 or 3 metres down this offshoot," Susan estimated. "About 4 in all." "Why on earth?" Tiffany asked. "Seems to be a waste of time. Perhaps we'll find out later," Mark agreed. "But now we'd better head off back up to past the canteen before our window of opportunity closes." They started walking back and soon passed the canteen door, and then another one almost straight afterwards. They assumed the second door would be the control room, judging by the amount of network cables heading into it. There, men would be monitoring the large door and whatever else required it, and they would not want to be stumbled into any more men. The tunnel straightened out after that. Tiffany announced that they were headed almost due west. They kept following the pipes along the straight tunnel, which kept having no more off-streets or doors, which was quite boring. Finally they reached the end of the tunnel for about 10 metres after the pipes had slowly submerged into the tunnel floor. Until the end they were no longer visible. Here there was another door, the same as the large heavy door that they had discovered in the other direction. This too had pistons and no obvious way to get them opening. Albert studied the size and the ceiling. "This is where they started to dig. I can tell by the direction of each stroke left in the rock." He felt along the grooves of the shoulder height. "Yes, definitely started from the other side of this door." "Yeah, right," Ben scoffed. "You're talking through the hole in your head again, Albert." Ben felt the rock just below where Albert was touching, pretending to examine it closely. "You see, this bit of wall feels like it was caved out the direction towards the doorway." "Well, the rest is the other way," Albert argued back, moving Ben's hand away and touching the rock underneath. "Hang on, this isn't even rock. It's too warm and smooth to the touch." Just as the words emerged from his mouth, the piece of wall clicked inwards and the door started to swing inward. "Guys," Stanley's voice asked over the radio, "what did you just do? The system has just gone mad." "Albert just opened the door out of the tunnel system," Ben replied. "You lot better hide. You set off so many alarms it's not funny." "Back to the canteen?" "Too late," Tiffany said in a loud whisper. "I hear footsteps coming this way." "Out the door then," Ben whispered back, looking out the door to a valley filled with thick bush. "Into the bush." They all quickly made their way out the door and hid within the thick bush on the other side. A few minutes later 2 men arrived at the doorway. Both of them wore a pair of headphones with a protruding microphone towards their mouths. "Well, she's definitely open," the taller one said. "Yes, no false alarm this time," the other one agreed. Ben and Mark looked at each other in amazement as they watched the 2 men from their hiding spot. "Didn't see anyone in the tunnels. Might just activate it by itself, you know, with these gremlins we've been experiencing all. A good example of what we could do without the boss's computer system. A good electric iron winch would work just as well as this microchip monstrosity." "You said it, Jack," the tall one agreed, looking at the floor for any signs of movement. The Terrors were lucky that the breeze that weaved lion leaves and dust over their footprints. "Well, no signs of disturbance. I guess we pulled another failure and closed the door." "Boss," the shorter one said into the microphone, pressing a button on a plastic box attached to his belt. "Door numero uno has opened itself. Probably another glitch in the system. George better look into that, I suppose. No sign of any other activity in the area. Closing door right now." The 2 men stepped back into the tunnel, and the Terrors saw a rock face slowly fold down towards them and lock into place. Once closed, it was almost undetectable from the rest of the cliff face. They stood up from behind the bushes and went towards the rock wall. "You recognise them too?" Mark asked Ben. "Definitely the men from the tower last night." "Yeah, but how?" "So, you saw those men with binoculars at peak view?" Susan asked. "Yeah, the binoculars weren't that great," Ben explained. "Weren't even sure they were men, but now I see them in the flesh, there's no doubt." "Okay, so now what?" Albert asked. "Suppose we find an alternative route home," Ben answered. "You're welcome to try," Albert said, suddenly realising where they were. "But I very much doubt you will, with this being Dead Man's Valley." "Dead Man's Valley?" Ben queried. "Are you sure?" "Pretty much," Albert replied. It'll be the perfect starting point, and with the recent strange activities in this valley being reported in the papers for the last 6 months, I think my deductions are pretty spot on. So the only way out is Stanley then, being placed as ready to... Stanley, come in. The door closed again, didn't it? Came the reply. Correct. Thought so. There's more strange network traffic happening. Seems that every operation in this cave system goes through the computer network. That's interesting, Ben said, trying to speed things up Stanley. But we're stuck out here, so can you open the door? I said everything going through the network. I need to isolate the door commands from the alarms and the radio communications. Then it's probably deciphered by a timestamp, so I need to isolate that. I suppose that in a week I might be able to get somewhere. A month I might be able to insert a door open command without setting alarms off. The others looked at each other. Tiffany picked up the radio. We haven't got a week, Stanley, let alone a month. We're in Dead Man's Valley. Really? Always wanted to go there. What's it like? Like we're trapped, Tiffany yelled down the radio. Get us out of here. I'll see what I can do. I'll need a hardwire into the network to send data. They'll take 10 minutes. While I'm doing that, I need to think of a way to get the door open. While Tiffany and Stanley were talking, Mark had wandered down through the bush a bit, the others not noticing until they heard a shout. Come here, guys, look at this. They walked along towards his voice and stopped where Mark was standing. There in front of them was a small lake, practically a pond, surrounded by huge cliffs making their new prison. Mark found a large white stone nearby and threw it into the pond. It sank in the clear water, and they could see it disappear into black nothingness. Alongside where it dropped were the 3 pipes that they followed in the tunnel system. Susan looked down. They could pump all the rock they wanted to in there, and it still wouldn't fill up. That's one deep pond. Well, that answers that question, Ben observed. I suppose if you're going to starve to death anywhere, here's one of the better choices. True, Susan agreed, but Stanley will come through, either today or never, Albert said, throwing another stone in the lake. I'd rather starve to death than have to explain to Dad why I missed the evening study. Got the wires connected, Stanley's voice came through the radio. Any ideas? None, Ben answered. Found where they're dumping the waste, though. What about you? Nothing. For me, it's still 3 weeks' work. Well, you better eat it up, or you'll be explaining to Albert's father why he can't study tonight. Well, if you put it like that, they heard Stanley chuckle slightly, 2 weeks then. Thanks a lot, Albert cursed under his breath. Well, they're stuck in Dead Man's Valley with nowhere to get out. We're in the middle of the chapter here. Time as it is, we have to stop now. So you'll find out what happened to the rest of the chapter, Dead Man's Valley, next. Bye.